Not all chains are made of iron. Some are invisible, woven from guilt, fear, and charm. And those are the hardest to break. There's a kind of manipulation that doesn't scream. It whispers. It doesn't push. It guides subtly, gently, silently. And yet, it has the power to shape your thoughts, your decisions, even your identity. You feel it. You felt it. That moment when you agreed to something that didn't sit right in your soul. That person who always makes you feel slightly less, even when they smile. That unshakable guilt, even when you've done nothing wrong. This is not weakness. This is not foolishness. This is the invisible web of subtle manipulation. And today, we are going to burn that web with the fire of Stoic wisdom. Welcome, seeker. You have chosen to open your eyes. And what you are about to learn will change how you see everything. Your relationships, your workplace, your society, but most of all yourself. Difference between overt and covert manipulation. Why subtle manipulation bypasses logic and targets the emotional body. The psychological hooks. Guilt, obligation, fear of rejection, charm, confusion. How this erodes confidence, blurs self-awareness, and fosters dependency. Cultural programming, and how society often rewards manipulators. A short but gripping fictional story of a charismatic mentor who manipulates his protege with praise, selective withdrawal, and guilt, highlight the confusion and eventual awakening. Why self-awareness is the enemy of manipulation. Exercises to map your emotional triggers. The Stoic practice of journaling and evening reflection. Realizing where your values and actions diverge due to unseen influences. He who does not master himself is easily mastered by others. Epictetus. Modern society pushes reactivity. Stoicism trains stillness. Watch their patterns, not their words. How manipulators repeat cycles. Charm, confuse, guilt, reward, punish. Building a mental map of interaction patterns. If what I've shared has awakened something in you, don't let it fade. Share this message. Subscribe to walk with us deeper into the fire of truth. And comment below with just one word, awake. And now, we descend even deeper into the hidden world of subtle manipulation. For it is not always a sword that wounds. Sometimes it is a feather that breaks the soul. When manipulation is overt, when someone yells, threatens, or coerces, it's easier to recognize, easier to resist. But what of the smile that hides an agenda? The compliment with a hook? The gesture that gives with one hand and takes with the other? This is the realm of the serpents in silk. The manipulators who wield emotional currency like ancient merchants of control. And if you do not recognize them, they will write the story of your life for you. The disguises of manipulation. Manipulation wears masks. Sometimes it wears the face of the victim. I can't believe you'd hurt me like this. Other times, the mask of kindness. I'm just doing this for your own good. But behind every mask lies one truth. A person who seeks to bend your will to make you feel guilt, fear, shame, or doubt in order to gain control. Let us look at the most common disguises. The martyr manipulator, constantly playing the victim to evoke pity. They use suffering as a currency to guilt you into obedience. The flatterer, over-the-top praise, endless compliments, not out of love, but to lower your defenses and gain favor. The helper with hidden ledger. They assist you, yes, but every favor is a hidden debt you never agreed to pay. The gaslighter, twisting your reality, denying facts, making you question your memory. Their goal? Power through confusion. The silent punisher. When they're upset, they retreat in silence. No words, just coldness. This emotional withdrawal becomes a weapon. The Stoic does not condemn, he observes. And in that observation, he sees the truth for what it is. To recognize manipulation is not to judge it with anger, but to disarm it with presence, with clarity, because you cannot be manipulated by what you fully understand. Why we fall for subtle manipulation? You may ask yourself, why do I fall into these traps? I'm intelligent, aware, conscious. And I say to you, it is not a lack of intelligence. It is a sign of your goodness. You fall for manipulation because you want to believe in the best of people. You want peace. You want love. You want harmony. But manipulators use that sacred longing against you. They prey on your light, your desire to be kind, to help, to understand. Yet here lies the Stoic revelation. Compassion without boundaries is self-betrayal. Seneca said, "A gift is only a gift if it is given freely, not extracted through guilt." The moment your yes is born from fear, discomfort, obligation, it is no longer kindness. It is submission. And the manipulator rejoices, not because they're evil, but because they're wounded. Their power over others is the bandage they place over their broken self-worth. And when you see this clearly, with your third eye wide open, you are free. You can love them without becoming their puppet. The power of emotional detachment. Now listen closely. One of the greatest gifts of the Stoics and of all awakened beings is emotional detachment, not coldness, not indifference, but the ability to feel without being owned by the feeling. Because manipulation lives in emotional chaos. If they can provoke you, control you, confuse you, they win. But when your inner waters remain still, when your yes is yes and your no is no, and you are anchored in truth, they lose all power. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Imagine this. Someone tries to guilt you. "After all I've done for you, this is how you treat me?" And instead of reacting, you breathe, you look within, and you answer, "I appreciate what you've done, but I do not owe you my soul." That is power, not a sword, not a shield, but clarity, calmness, conviction. That is how the Stoic moves, in truth, not emotion. And that is how manipulation dies. The Stoics' toolkit to disarm manipulation. Let us now equip you with the tools of the Stoic warrior, so that no whisper, no shadow, no subtle word can pull you from your truth. These are not weapons of war. They are shields of awareness. The sacred pause. When something feels off, pause. Don't react. Don't respond immediately. Feel your body. Breathe. Let the storm pass before you speak. Ask the mirror questions. Am I being asked or manipulated? Does this request align with my values? Would I do this if I didn't fear their reaction? Embrace discomfort. Sometimes, to honor your truth, you must let others be disappointed, angry, upset. That's not cruelty. That's self-respect. Set invisible boundaries. Not all boundaries must be spoken. Some are actions. You simply stop explaining, stop engaging, stop dancing their dance, and walk away. live in radical clarity. Know your values. Define your mission. Stand tall in your why. When your life is rooted in purpose, you are unshakable. Because the Stoic does not exist to please. He exists to live in alignment with truth. There's a hidden price you pay every time you allow manipulation to rule your choices. It's not always visible, but it is felt, a quiet erosion of your soul, a soft whisper in the night saying, "This isn't who I am." When you abandon your truth to keep the peace, when you silence your NO to avoid discomfort, when you bend your light to fit someone else's shadow, you fracture your spirit. And over time, you begin to forget who you are. You become a character in someone else's story, a performer in someone else's theater. But your soul did not come here to be controlled. Your soul came here to express, to expand, to embody divine sovereignty. To let manipulation dictate your path is to hand your spiritual compass to another. And that is the beginning of soul death, returning to the throne of your inner kingdom. But take heart, the throne still waits for you. The moment you awaken, the moment you see clearly, you are invited back to your power. And that invitation begins with one choice: to remember who you are, not the person shaped by guilt, not the version formed by fear, but the core of you, the still, sovereign, silent witness behind all experience. The Stoic calls this your inner citadel, the unshakable center that no lie can penetrate. You do not need to scream. You do not need to argue. You do not need to convince. You only need to return to your center and choose yourself. Because the day you stop outsourcing your worth is the day the chains fall off. Forgiveness without re-entry. Now let's speak of something subtle and powerful. Forgiveness. Many confuse forgiveness with reunion. They think, if I forgive, I must let them back in. No. Forgiveness is not permission to re-enter your life. It is freedom from resentment. You forgive so you can be free, not so they can continue. You forgive because carrying their weight poisons your spirit. But boundaries remain. Clarity remains. Distance remains. Forgiveness is, I release the anger, but I also release the bond. Because some people were teachers of contrast. They showed you what not to accept so you could finally choose truth, honor the lesson, then walk away. From manipulated to masterful. You've seen the disguises. You've understood the cost. You reclaimed your center. Now, you become the master of your own story. But this mastery is not about dominance. It's not about never being touched by manipulation again. It's about recognizing it instantly and choosing differently. It's about building a life where clarity is normal, peace is protected, and truth is non-negotiable. You become someone who cannot be manipulated because you know your values. You speak your truth. You are not afraid to disappoint others. And you refuse to betray yourself for belonging. That is unshakable power, the Stoic's power, and it is available to you now. We live in a time where manipulation is no longer the exception. It's the environment. From ads that sell you inadequacy, to friends who joke at your expense, to relationships that demand your silence in exchange for love. Manipulation has become the background noise of modern life. But because it's so subtle, so disguised in politeness, humor, obligation, or flattery, we mistake it for normal. We become desensitized to the slow erosion of our will. We smile when we should speak up. We agree when we mean no. We nod when our soul is screaming, and society rewards it. It calls us easygoing, nice, cooperative. But under those masks lives the truth. Self-abandonment disguised as kindness. And that, my friend, is the silent epidemic no one wants to talk about. Because if we all woke up to how manipulated we've been, we'd have to change everything. The path of the Stoic, from reaction to response. To walk the path of a modern Stoic is to choose awareness over autopilot. It's not about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally sovereign. You may still feel the pull of guilt, the sting of someone's disappointment, the tremble of fear when you set a boundary. But you do not let those feelings decide for you. You feel them, you name them, and then you choose your response with clarity. This is what separates the Stoic from the manipulated. The manipulated reacts from emotion. The Stoic responds from presence. That difference changes everything. It gives you back your power, not over others, but over yourself. And when you have mastery of your inner world, no one can bend you with a smile, a tear, or a threat. You become untouchable, redefining love, loyalty, and power. Let's redefine the words most used by manipulators. Love is not compliance. Loyalty is not self-erasure. Power is not control over others. It is control over self. You can love someone deeply and still say no. You can be loyal and still choose truth over tradition. You can be powerful without raising your voice or making demands. This is the evolution of manhood, of womanhood, of humanity itself, a kind of maturity that refuses to play the old game, where relationships are not built on control, but on consciousness, not on guilt, but on growth, not on performance, but on presence. This is the age of sovereign beings. And you, if you're still watching, still listening, are part of that awakening, anchoring in the power of solitude. There is one secret that all manipulators fear, a person who is not afraid to be alone, because solitude breaks the spell. When you sit with yourself long enough, when you stop reaching for approval, attention, or affection from the outside, you remember your worth. You begin to fill your own cup so no one else can poison it. And from that place, relationships shift. You no longer tolerate breadcrumbs. You no longer fall for charm without character. You no longer sacrifice yourself just to belong, because you belong to yourself. And that is enough. The Stoic doesn't isolate. He simply doesn't cling. He chooses connection from fullness, not desperation. From clarity, not chaos. And that is when love becomes real. A vision of freedom, the unmanipulated life. Now close your eyes for a moment and imagine the unmanipulated version of you. You speak with calm certainty. You make decisions without fear of judgment. You walk away from anything that costs your peace. You give without being used. You love without losing yourself. You command respect without ever raising your voice. This is not a fantasy. This is who you already are, beneath the layers of conditioning, fear, and guilt. And every moment of clarity, every boundary honored, every truth spoken brings you closer to that version. You don't have to become someone new. You only have to return to the place before the manipulation, before the doubt, before the fear, back to the root of your own power, back to you. Final reflection, the invitation to rise. So, Here you stand at the edge of a decision. You've seen the manipulations. You've remembered the cost. You've tasted the clarity of the Stoic path. Now the question is not, will others change? It is, will you choose to never abandon yourself again? Because the world will always have manipulators. There will always be those who seek to pull your strings. But the Stoic, the conscious man, the awakened woman, chooses to cut those strings one by one, until only one force moves them: truth. And so, this is your invitation, not just to watch, but to rise, to speak less with noise and more with energy, to stop explaining yourself to those who benefit from your confusion, to leave the game and walk your own path, one of clarity, one of sovereignty, one of radical peace. Because you do not owe anyone your soul. You only owe it to yourself to live in truth. If you made it this far, it's not by accident. Maybe no one taught you this growing up. Maybe your parents didn't know how to protect you from the world. Maybe you were raised to please, to not upset anyone, to adapt. And you did. You adapted so much that you forgot who you were. But something inside you never died. A spark, a voice, a whisper that said, "This doesn't feel right. This isn't living. This can't be all there is." That voice isn't you going crazy. That voice is you coming home. And the system, the family, the culture, the toxic circles, they didn't want you to hear it. Because the day you listen, you will be free from their expectations, free from their guilt, free from their need for you to stay small. Today you listen, and there's no going back. The price of freedom and the gift of being you. Freeing yourself from the game of manipulation comes with a price. You will lose things, people, approval, doors that only open when you shrunk yourself. But what you lose was never love. It was dependency. It was transaction. It was control wearing a mask of care. And what you gain, what you truly gain, is you, your voice, your time, your energy, your peace, your center, your head held high and your roots deep in truth. A life that feels lighter because you no longer carry anyone else's weight. A life that moves in silence, clarity, and power. That is the gift. And no one can ever take it from you. Your soul already knew this. This isn't just a video. It's a reflection born from the soul. A seed planted in the deepest part of your spirit. One that doesn't fade when the video ends. Because this doesn't end here. This is where it begins. You don't need to become anything new. You only need to remember what you already are. The awareness behind every force, yes. The presence that felt something was off. The energy that refuses to repeat the cycle. That alone is more than enough. And if you're still here, it's because a part of you already knew. The final call and the beginning of the real path. If something inside you lit up today, if this message felt like more than just words, then don't ignore it. This is your moment. Not to run, not to escape, but to choose. Choose to stop explaining what you already know. Choose to stop surviving and start living. Choose to build, from now, a life where you don't beg for love. You don't walk on eggshells. You don't betray your soul to be accepted. A life where you can finally say, no more. And that no more becomes the beginning of everything. Subscribe if this message stirred something in you. Join this tribe of seekers, those who are waking up, remembering, rising. We don't follow trends here. We become the river. We don't repeat empty mantras. We plant consciousness. Every video, every word, every silence is an invitation to come back to yourself. Because at the end of the day, you are your own home, and it's time to come back. See you in the next awakening.